Hello, welcome back to the workshop. Just doing a very quick video on dovetails that are on lathes, partly because I need to just have a quick examine of this one and also to show a fellow YouTuber how these things work. So let's just quickly whip this cross slide off. Generally speaking, you can just wind them off. This is my Atlas 10 lathe, which is remarkably worn. I say remarkably, it's remarkably worn in places, it's not remarkably worn everywhere. I have been levelling the lathe and I have found that there is an imperfection in the bed. Right, so when you wind this off its screw, you need to stop something falling out. To wit, this is a jib strip in there. I'll just show you down here. That's called a jib strip. This one happens to be PTFE, which is quite handy. That's loose, that's not helpful. Mind you, that thread is also shagged. And you adjust against your jib strip with these jib screws, which typically, where did I drop that? There it is. Typically, certainly in this case, have an hex head and a locking nut. In this case, on the Atlas 10, it's a 7/16 locking nut on there. And when you put this back on, this is already set, but when you put this back on, you need to get your jib strip in line, like that. Make sure it's in line. Is that in line, or have I got that thing arse about face? Oh, I think that was right. And it should just go back on, but while I'm here, I might just set that so I can nip that up when I do it up. Now your dovetails, and that's in as far as it goes, that's a problem. Okay, your dovetails generally should be okay. Should keep them nice and oiled, nice and clean. I'll just give that a quick wipe off before I put it back on. Sure there's no foreign matter in there. There's not really a great deal to dovetails on these sorts of ways. The ways on this lathe have a few problems, and oil I recommend is Magna SW68 on your ways. Now what I suspect I'm going to have to do is loosen that off so I can slide that back on. So let me just get, I can hold that in. There we go. Found it, it's in the right spot. If you can't, just back these screws right out and then adjust them. So if you then now just wind that straight back on, and on it goes. And what you're looking for is to check that there's no lateral movement that way. On the other hand, there is so much backlash on this thing that needs sorting out at some point, but that's because the screw and the nut are worn. On the other hand, this screw here has very little been used, so that one is in perfect condition. So that is the dovetails. As I say, what you find is that if you want to adjust the movement on that, let me just wind this back down here actually. as there is less backlash back here. So you can see that that is not moving anywhere. And you adjust these so that it's just slight resistance but not too much to turning. And you obviously, let me show you on one. So you back it out. Hold on, you undo the lock nut first. Then you can back it out. Then drive it into where you want it. That feels about right. Then put that in up here. And there we go. So that bit of it is not very difficult at all. You can see that it's quite easy to do, quite easy to adjust. I've got PTFE gib strips on this because when I bought this it had none. Cost me 50 quid. Quite cheap for a lathe. And had been flogged to death since it's new at about 1946. And I got these replacement jib strips from Acorn Tools, who were the importer. This is an Atlas 10 made by the Atlas Press Company of Kalamazoo, Michigan. In its day it was a reasonably cheap lathe. I say reasonably cheap. Still quite a lot of money. Not the Rolls Royce of lathes, but a workhorse sort of machine that you could sit there, trot out lots of parts. There's lots of design features of this particular lathe that are on the cheap side. And what I have been doing, which I will do a video on, is getting this so that it turns this absolutely parallel. By absolutely parallel I mean within 1/10,000th of an inch. Haven't quite got there yet because it does that perfectly for about that length there, and then it starts kicking in by about 1/1000th of an inch up here. That's a problem because that's not parallel, and it's therefore not precise, but I will be resolving that issue, and I will then show you how you do it, and indeed how you resolve that issue. So there's that. That's the dovetails, fairly straightforward. They are pretty much the same on all lathes. And if you are looking for a lathe, a second-hand lathe, these are quite good. You do need to set them up. You also need to make sure the bed is level. The other thing is that if you can see a lathe that has, rather than having two flat ways like this has, if you have a lathe with a ridge in it, a sort of V ridge in it, that's to be preferred. They're better lathes. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe.